Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed the video today. We're going to go through our round 23 tips and predictions like we do every week. Unfortunately, last week we got 6 out of our 8 tips right. Unfortunately, not able to get the perfect round. The Cowboys and the Eels, the two teams that let me down last weekend. Hopefully this weekend we can get a perfect round for you guys. Without further ado, let's get through the weekend of footy. So first game of the weekend, we got the Roosters versus Manly at SCG. The Roosters coming off a loss here, 32-10 against the Broncos in a game where they just pretty much got dominated across the park. With the Manly Seagulls obviously coming into this game with a really nice win, 24-18 against the Dragons. But the one trend that's happening with Manly at the moment is they seem to be losing pretty dominant leads going into halftime, after halftime. So Josh Wong comes into the starting edge spot in the Roosters side for Egan Butcher out with HIA. And with the Manly Seagulls, we got Ben Trbojevic back off injury. So my tip for this game, I'm going to go to Roosters at the SCG. I know the Roosters usually burn me, and I've been wrong about the Roosters left, right, and center. I just feel like coming into this game, maybe they just need to click in the gear. We've been saying it for so long, but then again, the negative media around them at the moment is starting to really heat up. So I'm not too sure whether, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to go to Roosters. I'll stick with that too. Next game of the weekend, we got the Titans versus the Wars at Seabus Super Stadium. So obviously I am going to this game. I'm really excited to go see this game because I want to see the Wars really continue on this little bit of run what we got going on, especially against a team like the Titans. We don't want to underestimate the team that we got in front of us this weekend. The Titans coming off a really nice win last week, 22-13 over a good Cowboys team that is in form. So that definitely shocks us a little bit coming into this game where we're like, we need to turn up for this game. Obviously the Titans are a classy outfit when they can play football. It's just their inconsistency sometimes can be the reason why they are in the position that they are at the moment. So with the Wars, Jazzy Tavanga is sitting in the 18th man role. I'm not too sure if he'll come in as a late change in, obviously coming back off injury. And Aaron Shop comes into the centers for the Titans for Jojo Fafita. My tip for this game, I can't go away from my boys. I really do hope, I'm a bit worried with this game, more so the fact of, I feel like our best attacking side is our right side, which is going against the best defensive side for the Titans side, with obviously Fafita foreign on that edge, and Brian Kelly's been in really great form at the moment. So hopefully Lukey Metcalf and that can get some little good, like really good ball on that edge there. I hope we can attack that edge really, really well. Next game of the weekend, we got the Panthers versus Storm at Bluebet Stadium. Obviously the Panthers coming off a really nice win last week, 28-0, where they just dominated the Sharks across the park, causing Cam McGinnis to go 81 tackles. Is just fucking mental in my opinion. Just a really good game plan from the Panthers. With the Melbourne Storm coming off a really nice win as well, 46-16, something we didn't predict coming into that game. Obviously with no Big Nelson, a couple of other key outs, obviously Justin Olam and Remus Smith, and they still get it done against an Eels team that really needed a win there, in my opinion. So really good signs there for the Storm there, and Big Nelson is back in their lineup, which is definitely a massive thing. I don't really know why Big Nelson is starting on that edge for Eli Katoa. I thought Eli Katoa had a really good game last week and all that, but we'll have to see how that goes. Maybe that changes coming into the lineup. I know coming up against the Panthers, Craig Bellamy does like to start Big Nelson in that edge back rower role. He's done it before in time. So my tip for this game, I'm going to go to Panthers. The Panthers are just in crazy form at the moment, but I would really think that the Melbourne Storm actually could take it to the Panthers at the moment. I feel like the Panthers now, they've had some really back-to-back really great games, defensively, great work, and that sometimes teams can just drop games like this, but then again, at home, I don't really see it happening, so I'm going to Panthers. Next game of the weekend, we got the Cowboys versus the Broncos at Townsville. Obviously, with the Cowboys, 22-13 loss against the Titans, which is really disappointing for the Cowboys, but then again, when you're going 6 straight, coming into a game against the Titans that have class across the park, even though the position on the ladder where they're at, you know, obviously, sometimes you do drop games left, right, and center, and just nothing was really clicking for them. But the big news coming into this one, obviously Valentine Holmes gets dropped out of due to suspension. Jason Tumalo starts in the front row spot, and Helam Lukey is back in that lineup, so really excited for that. Obviously the Broncos coming off a 32-10 win over the Roosters. Oh, they were so dominant in that game. Could have been a lot more in my opinion. Paddy Carrigan is back in lock on team list, but whether he stays in that position, who knows? Usually that's a late change. My tip is 50-50 here, but I'm going to go to Cowboys at home. I feel like the Cowboys have a lot more to play for. I know the Broncos have a lot to play for. They don't want to be the team the full way towards the end of the year. I just feel like the Cowboys are just going to have that little bit of an edge to them at the moment to try and stay inside that 8. Next game of the weekend, we got the Finns versus the Knights at Perth. So 2 games back-to-back at Perth. This is the first game of the weekend at Perth. Obviously, the Dolphins coming off a really disappointing loss, 23-22 over the Bulldogs at Bundaberg. Unfortunately, Jermaine Asako not able to get the kick to win that game. A whole lot of other things didn't really go to Dolphins' way in that game. Obviously, they had Lemu Elu go out pretty early in that game. He's a really damaging edge-back rower, so that sucks. Coming into this game, Nikorima is starting at center, which is a really interesting move in my opinion. Obviously, the Hammer is staying at fullback, but maybe this could be a late change coming into it where the Hammer goes back into the center role and Nikorima goes back into the fullback role. Milford starting out at 6, and really, in my opinion, Milford's been in really great form whenever he's coming off the bench and that for the Dolphins, so hopefully he can continue it on. I really like to see Milford do really well, especially with all the press that goes on around that guy. With the Knights 28-6 over the Raiders, no massive changes coming into this game, and a really dominant win obviously last week against a Raiders team that usually can find their way back into a contest. They love to make it a 1-12 contest. But the Knights just being way too good, and that left edge is humming so well. As soon as Jackson Hastings has switched sides onto that left edge, he just gets the team around the park so much better. And then obviously their attacking strike side is that left side. You got to watch out for that. But then again, I've seen some really good things from Tyson Gamble. He had a really nice play over with the Raiders last weekend where he put a little chip over the top for a repeat set. A couple of little things that he just pops out with out of nowhere where he looks really, really good in that 6 role. So my tip for this game, I'm going to go with the Knights. I think the Knights will just be a little bit too strong at Perth. They've just been a little bit better form at the moment, but then again, a Dolphins team will kind of try to keep it really close. Next game on our back-to-back at Perth, we got the Rabbits versus Sharks. With the Rabbits, they came off a really nice win over the Tigers, 32-18, where they didn't really get out of first or second gear in that game. They really could have done a lot more damage, in my opinion, but the Tigers did really well to hold into that game overall. Fairly unchanged coming into this game. Tyrone Munro goes into that 18-man role, so whether he's a late change, who knows? That would be really exciting, especially for my Supercoach team. I got Tyrone Munro sitting there. And with the Sharkies, obviously a really disappointing loss, 28-0 against the Panthers, where, to be fair, they got played off the park through the whole game, but they really did show up. They showed some effort in that, but there definitely is just clunkiness through that whole team, especially when you make that late change on Moylan and Trindle and try to switch the team around at a point. He had to in a way, but in my opinion, it just didn't. There was no one that could come into that spot that could fill in to do what you really wanted to do, unless you wanted to put like a Wade Graham at 6 and really say that we're a defensive team now. I'm not too sure there was any other way to really go about that. But coming into this game, Connor Tracy is going to fullback, Talakai is in that center role, and Moylan is in that 18-man role. So my tip for this game, I'm going to go to Rabbits. I think the Rabbits just in that top 8 sort of fight. I feel like they're just going to come in and they're going to really put a number on the Sharkies here. I feel like the Sharkies are going to have some fight to them, especially with Moylan 18th man, whether he's a late switch back in. Oh, yeah, I can't see a world where the Sharkies win this game. Second last game of the weekend, we got the Eels versus Dragons at CommBank Stadium. Obviously, the Eels coming off a disappointing loss against the Melbourne Storm. Isaac Lume comes into that wing spot for Wanga Blake, who has not been in great form for the last couple of years now. And with the Dragons coming off a loss against Manly, so both these teams coming off pretty disappointing losses. JDB is out due to suspension. Not really much else to talk about in this game. I really feel like the Eels are going to have to come out and get this done, especially when they're in that 8 fight at the moment. So I feel like, the Parramatta Eels are just going to have a little bit too strong, especially at home over the Dragons. And last game in the round, we got the Raiders versus the Tigers at GIO. The Raiders obviously coming off a disappointing loss against the Knights. Rapana is starting at fullback this week. Seb Chris is going to that center role. And with the Tigers, obviously a disappointing loss against the Rabbitohs. But what we are seeing for the Tigers is, especially when they got the key man across the park, they are staying in fights a little bit better than what they have in the past. Justin Matamua comes into the bench role. He's got a whole lot of wraps around him, a really good, strong forward that has really good footwork at the line, really nice playmaking game. So really excited to see how he goes into this game as well. My tip for that one is definitely going to be the Raiders. I don't see the Raiders dropping back-to-back games in disappointing fashion. But then again, the Raiders can definitely make this into a 1-12 game. We all know that. It's just the way the Raiders are. So yeah, guys, make sure you comment down below your tips for the weekend, your predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Take it easy. Peace out.